Things sure have come a long way since installing Windows was CD-ROM based. You remember those days? In this nugget, we're going to take a look at the various boot methods that we can utilize to kick off the Windows installation. So yeah, we can boot to a CD-ROM, but those days are gone when it comes to installation media. The most common method today for Windows is to boot to a DVD. Remember, even if you download your copy of Windows, you're downloading an ISO, and that is to create the DVD image. What's interesting now, and you'll see me demonstrate this though, is we typically download the ISO and don't even bother with the DVD when we install Windows in a virtualized environment. So we don't even burn the ISO to DVD anymore. We could boot to a USB device where we have the installation. Maybe it's an external or hot swappable drive. Maybe it's a nice solid state flash drive, and we connect via USB. We could even have a hard drive partition with the Windows installation files on it. One of the most clever ways to do it, though, is called the PXE boot. Yeah, PXE. Don't think of like Tinkerbell here, but no, PXE as in pre-boot execution environment. This is the same as NetBoot, so I really don't know why they separated these. And NetBoot is a better descriptor for the pre-boot execution environment because it gives you a picture of what we're doing. The system is going to boot up and access the network for the installation files. How cool. And I'll be covering this in detail with you and how it's done, but I just want to mention it now. We can have an unattended installation. So think about how cool this is. The system can boot to and access the installation files on a network location, and then the installation can progress without any input from you and I. So we have the installation kick off and run unattended. We just, go to lunch, come back 30 minutes later, and the Windows system is set up to our specifications. Now, no matter how we are going to get to the installation files, we have to be able to control how we boot the system. And let me remind you how that is done. We actually covered it in our first A+ course. So you remember this? We access the system BIOS. We typically do some kind of key press when the system starts up. And in here is the boot menu, and we can control the order that the boot options will be tried. So we could move the CD-ROM/DVD-ROM drive to the top, and that would be the first thing that the system tries to boot from, and that's going to be ideal if that's where the installation files are. Notice we have the network boot or PXE boot option. We could move it up to the top if that's how we planned on installing Windows. So this is critical, and they could obviously ask you about this again. And remember, this can be the source of an error message if you have it looking to the CD-ROM drive first, for instance, and you have a DVD in there that doesn't have the installation files on it. We would get a nice error message when it attempts to boot from that incorrect DVD-ROM media. You know what else is interesting about this topic is, think about it, a lot of these are options for where we would install Windows. So we were bringing this up as far as how do we get to the installation files, but think about it, you could install Windows onto an internal hard drive, obviously. We can install Windows on an external drive. It's a feature called Windows to Go. How fun. We could install Windows to a solid state drive, obviously. We could access Windows from a PXE NetBoot type of situation. So pretty interesting that we're also talking about destinations here where we will be installing Windows itself. So just as it would be in your exam environment, I think you're going to find this pop quiz question pretty simple. What option allows you to install Windows from a network location? Is that PXE, DVD, SSD, or internal? And we know this is the pre-boot execution environment, and it is PXE. Answer A is the answer that we're looking for. Great job for all of you that got that. So, a simple, straightforward little nugget on the Windows install boot methods. How are we going to get to those installation files in order to perform the Windows installation? A lot of options these days. Probably the most popular still is the DVD methodology. And remember, we download an ISO image to create the DVD typically. But we also discuss some other great options like Pixie booting and booting from a USB connected device. I sure hope this nugget was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.